Okay, we're going to cover mitosis today. So, mitosis, as I said, mitosis occurs only in somatic cells, and that's the word we use for body cells, somatic cells. And so an example of that would be your toe. So, to help remind you, I like to say, hey, that's mitosis. So, mitosis occurs only in somatic cells, and that's our fancy word for the body cell. Now, it's good to have a good summary. I mentioned that there's all those phases. We practiced identifying them with the onion root tip. But overall, mitosis, I'm going to change my color. Mitosis is a process where a single cell divides into two identical daughter cells. I'm going to highlight that for a minute because that's our big takeaway. They're two identical daughter cells. So, in this process, the DNA is replicated. So we make a copy. You can write copied if you need to remember what that means. It's copied. It lines up along the center of the cell. So this is our phase called metaphase, which is called metaphase. And then gets pulled apart into separate daughter cells. Separate daughter cells. Then, so that's anaphase and telophase. And then, lastly, the cells separate or divide, and this is called cytokinesis. That's this process right here. Okay, so in short, that's our process of mitosis. Our cells start as one cell. We have a time where the cell replicates its DNA. The cell is going to then grow and get ready for the process of mitosis. Then those pieces line up along the metaphase plate. They get pulled apart. So let's go look at that over here. So this is what we call the cell cycle. And this is the continual process of the cells growing and replicating. So I'm going to start with G1, which is called our growth phase 1. So this is where cells grow and perform their normal processes. So this is your everyday cell. As they get closer to the point when they're going to go through mitosis, they enter the synthesis phase. Remember that the word synthesis means to create. So in the synthesis phase, we get DNA replication. So the replication itself is not part of mitosis, but is the lead-in to mitosis. So we're going this way. Going this way. We're going to keep going this way. So now we're going to enter G2, which is growth phase 2. And this is where our cell is going to get bigger, so we can prepare to divide. So they have to get a little bit bigger so that each cell can have enough of the final product. And that brings us to our favorite process. I'm going to make my pen a little bit smaller so it fits. And that is mitosis. And that happens right here. So as we're moving from the growth phase 2 into mitosis, we have our phases of mitosis. So we have, here I'm going to draw a line, we've got prophase. Then we go into metaphase. Then we get into anaphase and telophase. So I like to remember it as PMAT. So if we were to highlight that, we got PMAT, PMAT. So out here in the G1, the S, and the G2, our cell goes through what's called interphase. So that's this whole process right here. And interphase is where cells spend most of their time. So as we looked at in the chart, cells are not continually dividing. They divide at different rates. So this process right here is called interphase. And this is where cells spend most of their time. So cells spend most of their time in interphase. I'm going to highlight that. It's important. So cells spend most of their time in interphase. This mitosis period is relatively short. And this is because cells divide at different rates. So we have hair cells and skin cells. These are things that divide frequently. So we're constantly getting new hair. If you cut yourself, your skin has to replicate itself to heal. On the other hand, we have heart cells and our nerve cells. Our heart cells divides rarely. That's new data. We used to think they didn't divide at all. And then the nerve cells divide very rarely to not at all. So these are important to think about how our body is impacted by the things we do. So I'm going to identify these as identical. Okay, and that's mitosis.